However, is that acceptable to do?
Certainly, I'm going to ask them to be courteous.
Yeah, I don't want anybody slandering.
That's right. I mean, you know, if they have
Opinion.
an opinion,
That's okay. Yeah, well, I presented it. I get them all the
we're
time.
not, that's right. So we're not looking at
I'm just
tempering
videotaping
freedom.
them anyway.
Huh?
I'm on videotape.
Okay.
I think you can see it on YouTube, in fact.
Probably. Just like my own.
You like your own. You know, they have software that lets you download from YouTube.
Yeah.
Then you can splice it.
That's right.
Add other voices in.
TikTok it a little bit.
Yes.
TikTok.
Plenty of room down front. Yeah, I'm down there too, that's all right.
You know, I thought, didn't we meet like at 7 o'clock?
What's that?
Didn't we meet at 7 o'clock? Last year.
Oh, and there's Arthur. And there's Lynn. Absolutely on time. Well, that's fast, too. Oh, God. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Let the record show that the entire school board is present, the superintendent of schools is present, and the record is being kept by Celeste Hatch. If you'd all please join the school board in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing on the agenda is adjustments to the agenda. Dr. DePatsy, any adjustments to the agenda? Mr. Abramson, any adjustments to the agenda? Does any member of the school board wish to adjust the agenda? Seeing none, next is the approval of the minutes of November 6th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of November 6th? Oh, Ms. Walters.
I move we approve the school board meeting minutes dated November 6, 2019.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Scheinman. So I have a motion by Ms. Walters, seconded by Mr. Scheinman to accept the school board minutes of November 6th. Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Comments to my left? Mrs. Johnston.
So if I'm reading this correctly, these are the minutes from November 6th, but it refers to the approval of school board meeting minutes dated November 6th in these minutes. So I think this must actually refer to a prior meeting, if anyone can follow my point.
Yeah. Ms. Hatch, can you clarify which minutes were actually approved on November 6th? Dr. DePatsy, do you have anything to clarify?
Yeah, I think it was the month before. So the October 20. 6th.
October 30th?
Yes.
Yes. So with the acceptance of the school board, the minutes are amended to recognize that the minutes approved on November 6th are the minutes of October 30th. Is that acceptable? Any comments to my right? Any to my left? Anything else, Ms. Johnston?
No, just with that adjustment, I'm fine with
Yeah?
going forward.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes as amended for November 6th. Motion was made by Ms. Walters, seconded by Mr. Scheinman. There are no further comments. Mr. Abramson? Well, all in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? Those abstaining. So the motion passes 6-0-1. One abstention, Mr. Abramson. Next, correspondence. Dr. DePatsy, do you have any correspondence?
Nope. Not at this point.
Thank you very much. Next up is the public session. And so when you step forward, please state your name and address for the record. And please be courteous when referring to people, whether they're school employees, students, members of the public, or, well, that's broadly enough. Ms. Preble? That's fine, yeah. I'm using Ms., MS, period, you know, so
Short people.
I try to stay away from Mrs. and Miss.
So good evening. My name is Jennifer Preble. I am a mother of one of the students in the new pre-K program, new this year, or second year in. I thank you for hearing me this evening to hear my concerns about how things have transpired. So I've came this evening to bring my attention and concerns how the pre-K program has been handled this year and what we need to do moving forward. So it's my understanding that there have been multiple locations that were as a result of our unfortunate situation with the Toddlin location. Miscommunication and improper inspections at the beginning of all this process has obviously unfortunately resulted in several locations across town. As a result of that, our teachers have been spread thin. Due to staffing ratios, they're not even allowed to take breaks. I'm sure they do take their breaks, but we have to struggle across all multiple locations to get them their adequate needs met. I'm also very concerned that some of the locations, our children's safety might possibly be at risk. They have to walk to a different location to get to a playground in one of the locations. In the middle of winter, this concerns me because these children that we care for so greatly could possibly be at risk. They might have to use the bathroom and they have to walk back to that proper location. They may be in the cold. It's just putting our children at risk. And that concerns me as well. The other thing that really is concerning for me is the lack of communication that has transpired for all of the parents through the pre-K program. Examples of this about the unclear communication that concerns me is that throughout this whole process, and I know it's been an amazing process, we still have a beautiful pre-K program. I can't speak enough of my teachers and my staff that exist, but it's just the communication was lacking and the planning was unfortunate. But I waited 8 months to even know if my daughter had a location in the pre-K program. 8 months. Yes, you screened my child. That's great. You promised us a beautiful Toddlin location. That was going to be fabulous. Awesome. But unfortunately, I had my daughter enrolled in 2 programs because I wasn't sure if pre-K and SACO was going to happen or not. I wasn't sure if we were going to have a lottery system. So it's also concerning that 2 or 3 weeks before school started, I didn't know where my daughter was going to go to school. So again, I was struggling for child care concerns. And even days before school started, I didn't know what bus my child was on. No, I had to go down to the office and ask them to please help me find that out. So just major concerns around the timeliness of things being completed, inspections, the first parish location was delayed because of inadequate timing of DHS inspections. That concerns me as a parent, even though I'm at a different location. How does you think that affected the children at the First Parish location and their parents? Their parents were left struggling for childcare days before where they thought their child was going to be in school. Very concerning. So at this point, I'm hoping that you will please hear our concerns. I'm not the only parent with these concerns. I support our staff and the community altogether, but I feel at this point, please, please do not renew the contract for Mr. DePatsy. It's nothing personal, sir. It's just the whole process as a brand new parent with the mishandling of the pre-K program. It makes me doubt your integrity to be able to handle the rest of the school program, and it concerns me greatly. I hope it's different next year. I still think you have a beautiful pre-K program, but I'm just very concerned about the adequate representation in our community, and maybe you're just not the right fit. So thank you for hearing my concerns. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hopefully hearing responses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waterhouse.
Not on the agenda.
Dollar. You hear me all right?
Sorry.
Lewis Waterhouse, 6 Graceland Acres. I would say there'd be no surprise to any of the members here of why I'm up here to speak this evening. It is concerning the contract renewal of our superintendent. I understand during an executive session you will be going over all the documentation, everything that's been gathered about the performance of the superintendent. Just from the public standpoint of this, given everything that we've gone through with the Toddle Inn, and I'm sure you've all probably heard about enough of the Toddle Inn, whether it be in the news, in the papers today, you know, this is something that should have never occurred to begin with. It was short-sighted, poor planning, rush to judgment. And that speaks volumes to somebody that is in the position of the superintendent in schools, especially considering where this superintendent is only in charge of pre-K through 8. Given the severity of what the parents have gone through throughout this process over the summer, of being told conclusively that pre-K was going to happen in Toddle Inn on more than one occasion, when we all pretty well knew that that wasn't going to happen. When moving pre-K into the church and not getting the proper clearances and inspections and everything else, and actually having to delay the start of pre-K in that location, these are all things that the superintendent was responsible for. We also have an issue with one of the schools, being Fairfield, which has what everyone is not so lovingly calling the music and art cart, because they no longer have a room to perform those classes in, because that school is now overcrowded. Why is it overcrowded? Because there was a program implemented for a day program to help kids in the district for services. So they needed space. So they eliminated the art and music room. It was told to parents and faculty that they would get another modular for that. Still no modular, still no permits pulled for the modular. I would implore you as members of this school board to not renew this contract. We can't afford this as a city to go through these types of missteps, mistakes, and poor judgment that we've encountered over this past year for another tenure. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Roach. Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry for the accessories, kind of a last minute.
Now, are you
thing.
speaking associated with item 11?
So
on
let's, so
agenda?
let's make sure, because there was some confusion the last meeting I was at, that we are supposed to speak, the rules are, we're supposed to speak to a certain agenda item.
Yeah.
And the last time I was here, there was staff of the schools that didn't get the memo on that and had to get corrected on it. But anyway,
Yes,
so
that's-
agenda 11 is old business.
I know.
So
Yes.
I'm here to speak about old business.
Okay.
Which has to do with the pre-K, because actually, I don't even know if it qualifies as old business, because you as a board have never spoke in front of the public about the Toddle Inn situation. Never. So it ends up defaulting to areas like, I don't know, Facebook, sitting on the corner, talking on the street, I don't know, wherever we can talk about it, I guess, because we can't talk in front of the board about it. I do want to address, I guess there's an executive session tonight on evaluation of an employee. The guess is it has to do with the superintendent. There was a taxpayer-funded eval 360 that brought together stakeholders and staff and I don't know, of the community. I can't be that important as an ex-counselor and some sort of influence on Facebook. I didn't get a call. You know, I don't take offense. That's fine. But, you know, I don't know what you want to hear from my evaluation, but again, no offense taken on that. So, but I don't know who was brought in for this evaluation. So I'll let you guys worry about that in executive session. Going back to Facebook and pre-K, whatever. I believe it was Art who had said that there's no way the board should be influenced by Facebook. Totally agree. Absolutely 100% agree. That's why you need to talk about it with the community and in this situation, whether it's Toddle Inn or whatever the subject. I brought up last year the sexual harassment policy, that there was a blatant error, right? Not in the microphone. I brought it up on Facebook. Abracadabra, the next day, the policy's corrected. The wording was corrected. I mean, I don't think, I agree with Art, that's not how we should be running the school board and the manuals, but again, that was corrected. Going back to what old business and pre-K is, what I'm here at the kind of the last second is that finally, in the paper, the Toddle Inn has spoken out of where they see where the lease is. The community has spoken over and over and over again. 7-0, 6-0 council vote, 7-0 EDC vote against putting a pre-K in the industrial park. But Toddle Inn, let me just read you, this is for the record in case someone's not seen the newspaper. Toddle Inn has spoken. And they said that when the school department expressed a desire to utilize Toddle Inn's Saco facility to accommodate its pre-K programs, my client, Toddle Inn, worked collaboratively with the Saco School Department to reach a fair and suitable agreement to make Toddle Inn's building available. In reliance on the validity of the lease agreement, Toddle Inn closed its Saco facility in order to accommodate the greater needs of the community, meaning your request to, we need to get pre-K settled in the community. Your request, Toddle Inn was so nice to accommodate our wishes. Like I said, Facebook should not rule the roost for you guys, right? However, our finance director, under the direction of our superintendent, said to Facebook back in July, we were approached by the Toddle Inn. Contract terms were given to superintendent with little wavering on Toddle Inn's side. Lease was sent to legal counsel, discussed in 2 executive sessions. At no time were there issues brought up about use of property. Wow, what a dynamic difference there. They just said in the paper, the Toddle Inn just said that you, superintendent, school board collectively, approached Toddle Inn for their pre-K needs. Yet, administration tells Facebook, the concerned parents, who we can't get an audience about the Toddle Inn in front of you, says you were approached by the Toddle Inn. Yeah, my 3 minutes are almost up. Almost up? Are they up? Who's got the time?
I didn't realize that policy for the school board is 3 minutes.
I don't think it is. Do you have that in front of you, Superintendent?
It is for the council. So council procedures.
Yeah, council procedures.
Put it at 3 minutes, and I set a timer to that. But I hadn't read in the school board policy.
Maybe I'm upsetting the superintendent, Mr. Mayor. Am I upsetting him?
I'm sorry.
Well,
matter? I mean,
first of all, I'm sure that there's some. There's some comments that he gets to feel as you say them.
Yeah.
But that it's good that you're speaking your mind. And it would be also good if you wrapped it up.
I'm speaking text. I'm speaking text.
Okay.
But I mean, if I have a 3-minute rule, I mean,
no, there's no 3-minute rule. You can keep on going. It's just it would be pleasurable if you were able to wrap it up.
Pleasurable. Well, anyway, I just feel like, you know, this is a big difference, and you know, we all base our actions on on truth, and what we say is what we do. And in essence, your integrity is at stake here. I mean, Toddle Inn just put it out there in the paper. The integrity of your school board is at stake here. So I wish you all the best in this settlement. We have spoken as a community, and I think the backup and the law and the covenants and all that stuff has said it outright that lease should never have happened. I don't know what was said before the lease, but the Toddle Inn sounds pretty confident that something was said and it was coming from this side and not from Toddle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roach. Superintendent's report. Dr. DePatsy?
Well, I got some really good news for a change here. So we've got Danielle Pelletier was nominated for the most outstanding instruction in mathematics for 3rd grade. So she's going up against several people, and she's going to be doing videoing of her classroom. Carrie Lamoth, one of our math coaches, nominated her, so I know Garrett has some other great news in our district, so I'll let him do that, but that was one that just came out this week. So that's it.
Thank you. Chairman's report, excuse me, does any member of the board have any comments on the superintendent's report? Seeing none to the right, any to the left, seeing none. Chairman's report.
Sure.
Or the chair's report.
So people may remember one of the first grants from Saco Steam was to go towards Lego robotics. I'm excited to say that team is now competing at the state level. So they 2 years in a row. Thanks for the correction. So very exciting, to see that both in action in our schools, but then at the state level as well. The other piece of my report, you all have in front of you a memo from me regarding and a reminder of the use of personal email for board business. Please read it. It's complete with the attachments that are printed out for you. So please make note of that. Everyone has a copy, and that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Does any member of the board have any questions of Mr. Abramson? To my right, seeing none. To my left, seeing none. Subcommittees, personnel. I'm sorry, next is the staff report. Staff report, Dr. DePatsy. There's a combined principal and director report.
Yep, those are the reports that you have. And I know you all like to process those, so if you have not read them, we have our staff here. They'll be at the next meeting, and you can ask any questions around that. These are also posted on our website for transparency purposes.
Okay, any questions of the combined principal and director's report to my right? Seeing none. To my left? Seeing none. Moving to the board subcommittees, personnel.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I did have one question about the reports from the principals.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I was just curious, I mean, there's a lot of good news in these reports, I believe, but I was a little bit curious, and maybe the superintendent just talked about this, but I might have missed it, that there are a few reports that are missing currently. I believe a report from Burns is, oh, wait, I'm sorry, this came to us just tonight then, right? This is not what was in our packet. All right, I appreciate that, and I just did want to clarify whether or not that was coming to us at some point. And after we have a chance to read it, we might want to review it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Subcommittee reports, personnel.
That would be me.
Ms. Walters.
Reminder that we're using the personnel subcommittee meetings to do the negotiations with the teacher contract. So the last meeting was utilized for that, and our next meeting is scheduled for Monday. However, I think we're
canceling
we're
that.
going to be
Yep.
canceling that. But
Thank you very much. Any questions of Ms. Walters, my right? Seeing none. To my left? Seeing none. Next is Finance Committee. Nobody's... Oh, Mr. Scheinman.
There's no report.
No report.
At this time, will be for the next meeting.
Thank you
Sorry.
very much. Any questions of Mr. Scheinman? To my right? None to my left. Thank you. Infrastructure. Yep. Ms. Johnston.
We are meeting tomorrow. So I think we reported from the last infrastructure meeting, as we meet about monthly, but we will be meeting again tomorrow, and we will come back with more information, I'm sure, relating to all of the infrastructure concerns that we will be introduced to tomorrow, and we'll be following up on probably the 1st through 5-year plan of the improvements that we hope to do in maintenance. Thank you.
Any questions of Ms. Johnston to my left? Seeing none. To my right?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Next is the strategic report, and that is Ms. Walters or Mr. Oh, okay.
It's normally me.
It's normally you.
But I'm going to defer to Emily because this meeting on the 5th, I was not
You
able
were
to
absent.
attend.
Right. So
yep.
Here you are, Ms. Walters.
Thanks, Beth. So on the 5th, the Strategic Committee, we spent some time reviewing a number of policies relating to the students, 3 of which are coming through for first read tonight. They include weapons, violence, and school safety, student dress, and student conduct on school buses. So we're making our way through all the policies, slowly but surely. We have quite the team that's reviewing them, so.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Ms. Walters to my right? Any to my left? Seeing none. Negotiations ongoing. School board liaison to the City Council, Mr. Scheinman.
Mr. Mayor, I think Stan's trying to get in.
Oh, excuse me.
Are we still on the superintendent's report?
No, we've gone to pass that we've been past the chairman's report, and
Okay.
and we've gone past the staff report.
The question I have pertains to both of them.
Okay. Speak directly into the microphone, please.
I've got it on. I've got to pull it.
You have it on?
Right,
That's
Mr.
true.
Mayor. We received an email here a couple weeks ago about China.
Oh, God, here we go.
Up until that time, it was
Email about
news
China.
to me.
A couple of weeks ago.
Not only that, but we're talking about putting together a RAD to hire an instructor to teach Chinese. Before we embark upon that path, I expect to see at least a workshop discussion of that issue, a request for public input on that issue, and support for why we are putting it in? Is it in response to some demand that we're seeing for the Saco school system to be doing such a thing? What is it? And how long has this been under discussion by some of our leadership? We don't know that either. So I'm posing that as a question to both the superintendent and the chairperson.
Okay, so
The next
did you...
meeting, we should be discussing this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marsden.
So, a little out of order at this, the order at this point, but I understand we missed that opportunity earlier. Stan noted Steve as chair of finance, or whoever is finance as we go through the budget process. Please ensure that all RADs are discussed during the budget process, this one included. If it comes forward from the faculty and staff and the administration as a recommendation, it should be discussed in the Finance Committee with all the other RADs.
Yes, in reference to that, nothing has come forward to this point, so there is no issue to discuss. I've heard only a rumor of this. I know nothing about it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments associated with items happening before old business? Seeing none, we're up to the school board liaison report.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you very much. So we're at old business, and there is a motion associated with the second reading of policies. So you, Mr. Scheinman, will make the motion.
I can do that for the committee. I move we recommend the second reading of policy DID inventories, DJ procurement policy, DJR federal procurement manual, DC use of credit cards, DJH purchasing code of conduct, BCB conflict of interest, DKC travel expense reimbursement policy, KI visitors to the schools, JHB truancy, JHBR truancy procedures, and JI student rights and responsibilities.
Do I have a second on this motion?
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Scheinman, seconded by Mr. Tardif. And on the acceptance of the second reading of a series of policies. Any comments toward that to my right? Any comments to my left? Mr. Marsden.
I've got a question on the violence in school. Oh, wait one. We haven't come to that one yet. Okay. I'll wait one. I apologize.
Okay. Again, the motion is to approve the second reading of a series of procurement policies. The motion was made by Mr. Scheinman, seconded by Mr. Tardif. Any comments to my left? Seeing none. Any to my right? Those in favor of the motion, raise your left hands.
Oh, tricky.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7.
My left hand.
7-0, the motion passes. Or any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Next is the first reading of a series of policies. Do I have a motion on that? Mr. Scheinman.
Yes. The suggested motion is I move we are approve the first reading of policy JICIA, weapons, violence, and school safety, JICA, student dress, and JICC, student conduct on school buses.
Thank you. Do I have a second on this motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Abramson.
Okay. Now are we on discussion?
And so now any questions to my left?
At the time...
Speak directly into the microphone, please.
Yeah. This is on. At least the green light says it's on. Okay. And I'm looking in particular at the weapons policy. At the time that came up in the policy committee, when that was being discussed, one of the things that was brought up is that in Bangor, a student carried into the school in his backpack a loaded weapon and pulled it out in the classroom. And one of the questions that I had as a result of that, in terms of our own policy, was there any changes that we need to make that were learned as a result of that particular incident that happened right here in River City? And at that time, the superintendent said he was going to call Bangor, he knew somebody up there, and find out what they had learned from that and what, if any, changes they were going to make as a result of that. And that's my question.
Dr. DePassy.
Actually, I saw Dr. Betsy Webb on Friday at the MSMA executive board meeting, and there were actually two incidences. There was another incident up north a little bit with Dr. Tim Doak. Same situation. Our policies are all the same. We had a great conversation. It just goes to why we are doing the day treatment program, which are really our behavioral programs within our schools. We're really looking at these kids and trying to get the wraparound needs that they deserve. So what they're doing more is adding more social work, doing more restorative justice type of things. But you know, that particular student and the other particular student, their weapons are part of that culture up north, and that's what happened. I don't know the whole details, but we talked about our policies. They're all in line. So if that happened here, we would go into what we would have to do with lockdown, make sure we call the police and so forth. So it was a whole series of things.
Thank you.
Any other questions on these policies to my left? Mr. Johnston.
Mine is not so much a question as as we're often reviewing these policies to try to make them as specific and as relevant as possible, I would just like to say that while I'm certainly going to vote to pass this tonight, I would like to have us review it. I mean, whether or not there's some sort of incident that triggers it, it's something we want to keep our eye on, I think, in the future, perhaps to strengthen it in some way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments to my left? Seeing none. To my right? Seeing none. Raise your right hand if you're in favor of the motion. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes 7-0. Next is a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Abramson, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I move we enter into executive session for the purpose of evaluation of employee pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056A with no action.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second on this motion? I have a motion by Mr. Abramson, seconded by Mr. Scheinman, to go into executive session. Any comments to my right? Seeing none. Comments to my left? Seeing none. Those in favor, raise your right hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed? None. Motion passes 7-0. We are now in executive session.